Hi, thanks for stopping by. My name is Richard Pierce, and today we're going to do a bit of a Python project on the Mac. About a year ago, I did a Python project around a Twitter bot. It worked, it connected to Twitter, it sent out tweets, but it worked quite as I wanted it to. The tweets were embedded in the code itself, the tweets were picked randomly. Sometimes I was tweeting the same thing in a couple of days. I'd not really thought about it. What I wanted something is something better than that. And the way that I saw it in my mind is all the tweets on a spreadsheet somewhere, probably saved them to Dropbox, but then Twitterbot reading those tweets from the spreadsheet, and then that's how it's driving it. There's two sort of sides of it that I want to do. One side which would be something that you could set a tweet to go on a certain day, so Christmas, or if you've got an event coming up, you could lead up to that event, so countdown if you like. The other side of it was similar to the original one, which would just be a list of sort of touch point tweets, just tweeting, looking at past blog posts, looking at just what do we do, but again I wanted to work that from Excel, and I wanted to work that slightly different than just random. But those are two things. So I mean, really the key for this objective last night when I did this was to, can I connect to Excel, can I search for a tweet by date, because that was the one I thought would be the trickiest, and can I pull that information back. So this is what we're going to do now. Okay, so what I've got is Python installed on the Mac. I also have Atom as a text editor. And the reason I chose Atom, there's a few out there. Other people that I work with use this to do other types of coding, which I don't do yet. However, if I ever get to that, which I hopefully will at some point, I'm not dead yet, then I'll probably use Atom as well. This makes things a lot easier. So I want to get familiar with the tool. But I've heard mixed reviews on this, so I'll put the links. But anyway, I'll put the links as to where to get them from on the description. What I have to do straight away is install xlrd onto a machine. So we use a command prompt either from the command line or from terminal on a Mac, and the code, the command is sudo pip install xrd. So you've got to do that first in the command prompt or the terminal window. And what I've done here, just before I jump too far ahead, is I've commented out the different steps that I'm wanting to do in this program. I used to find this very handy to do this first. So just by written word, you can see what you need to do in the logical order, and then you sort of fill in the blanks. So we're going to just bring in xlrd, and I always think it's good to run it and just make sure we've got no errors, and we've got no errors on that. So what we're going to do also is bring in the date time, and I found out earlier that it has to be lowercase, and we're going to bring in a variable which is d today, and we're going to go date time and dates and today. I'm just going to pause it there after I print it anyway. Lowercase and uppercase are my curse of Python. I'm going to run that, and it's done me again. It diddled me again. Run date time d today, date time date today, date time date d. No equals. There we go. Okay, so we've got the 13th of the 8th 2017. Now that looks like a very simple object. However, dates are very complicated. I always found this whenever I program. I've been doing it 30 years. When you're working with dates, it's never that simple. And to be fair, my Python skills quite aren't there yet, and I've got better things to do in my time than work out how dates work right now. It's not important to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert that to a string and run that again. Now it looks exactly the same, however it's different. Rather than being a date, that's now like a text string. 2007-8. Python doesn't know what it is, it just knows it as a series of numbers and a dashes, and that will help me when I get to the Excel to match up the dates properly. So now I'm going to share the Excel file, Twitter dates. We've got the dates in there, so normal date typed in. In Excel, dates are actually numbers, but just visually shown as a date. So if I change that to number, you'll see that that's the serial number for it, Command Z. That's why dates are complicated. So what I've done is I've set up another column, which is basically converting that date into a text format to match the Python that I've converted to text also. The final column is your messages. So 101, that's just, would be a Twitter message, 140 characters. But it's just to prove a point that I can find it. So what I'm going to do is open up that workbook. So it's workbook variable, and it's XLRD, and it is open workbook, and it is Twitter dates. See, on another language that would have done that. On this one you've got to tab it out. XLS, and I've used the XLS, which is the old format, because that apparently works with XLRD and the other one doesn't. Now I've not tested it because I've got better things to do with my time, but I know that works, so that's good enough for me. So now I'm going to go into the worksheet. Now you can open a worksheet by its index if you don't know the name of the sheet, but why would you? Because you know the name of the sheet. So in that case, I'm going to go sheet by name, and rather than sheet by index, I think is the other one. And we're going to go into dates, and that's plural. I should really stop pluralizing these names because it confuses things. So now we're going to find, now we're in there, let's run it. It didn't work. Dates, and that's why, because it's not bloody plural. That one is, and that one isn't. That's not fun. So that worked. Okay, so now we're in that date sheet. We're going to find out the total number of rows. We need to know the total number of rows because we are going to loop through them one by one. So we're going to go into worksheets and then use the command n rows, and then we're going to print it. You don't obviously have to print. What am I doing? I'm such an old way of doing it. Oh, right, I'm doing it that one. Print total rows, and then we run it through again. And we got 34 rows in here, which sounds about right. I'm not going to check it. Okay, so now we know how many rows we've got to go through. Rows don't start at 1, they start at 0. So that is row 0, that's row 1, just to confuse things. Everything starts at 0, so that's the actual column 0, column 1. So we're going to make it start from row 2, which is row 1 in Python. Are you with me? I hope so. That sort of harps back as well to my old Visual Basic for Applications programming days, so it's not too bad for me to remember that. So for row cursor, I always like to call my loop variables cursors, in range, and we're going to start from 1 and go all the way up to total rows. So it'll just loop through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 34. We'll put that on there, and it'll tab it in for us, so it's all part of this loop. So we're going to bring in the Excel date as a variable. I've already pre-typed it. I've said that before, so that's why it knows what I'm typing. I think Atom knows what you type. If you type the same thing again and again and again, it sort of holds it in memory. So we're going to go row cursor because we're going to do rows, and then column is 1, which is the second column, which is column B, because that's where I've got the nice text stuff in, and value. Very, very similar that to Excel VBA. Never really thought about that until this minute. But like I say, it's a long time ago since I did this. So print Excel date. So we're going to have a long list, and we did it, yay! 1st of the 8th all the way to 2nd of the 9th. That's exactly what we're expecting. We didn't get the header cell, which is what we didn't want to get. It wouldn't have mattered either way, to be fair, but might as well do it right if you're going to do it at all. Exactly right, but we don't want to go through the whole list. What we want to do is we want to stop at the 13th. Let me check. Yeah, the 13th of August, which is today. We don't want to go any further than that. All we're doing now is checking each day. When we hit the match, that's it, we're done. We don't want to go any further than that, so we want to put a conditional statement. So if today, will it find it for me? Yes, equals, double equals, absolutely, definitely, 100% equals Excel. I think that's what that means anyway, Excel date. So if it does, then we want to do, we're going to go print, we're going to go really happy about this. we're going to say today found, whoop-de-doo, loads of expression marks. And then we're going to find out where the dates found, it's not finding me this one, row is what line it's on, so row cursor. That's it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hop out of the loop. The old days used to be exit 4. You see, I know these things in the old one, my old languages, but I don't know it in here. But in here, it's break. So I found out. So that will pop us out of the loop. So normally in the loop at the beginning, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 34. 1, 2, 3, 4, check, 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 check. As soon as it finds it, it's going to say, yippee-doo, today found. Then it's going to grab that value, whichever one we're on, what 1, 2, 3, where we were, and we're going to load it into another variable, and we're going to break out of this completely. And we're going to go back to the first area now because we're completely out of the loop, and we're going to put in here print dates found row, and then we're going to do XL value. Don't know why I've called it that. It should be more descriptive. This is basically the Twitter. I think it was the name of the cell which I had. Anyway, rabbiting. So we're looking for the message, which is the third row along, which is column third row. It's the third column along, which is column C. And we're going to grab the value of that, just like we did before with the dates, and I'm going to print that just for good measure. But that's going to be basically the Twitter message, so it should be a better variable name than that. However, have I just done all this in here? Do you know, I've put these things on. Let's just copy that out, paste it down there. That's where it lives. Print the message as confirmation, that's the part of it. So, I know I haven't tested this for a while. Wait, it worked. So we've gone all the way, we've skimmed, we've found the 13th, so we've said today's found, it's on row number 13, and the message is 113, let's go back, message is 113, row 13, which is 40, because you always skip minus 1 away from it. That's perfect. What we haven't done here is we haven't said anything around if it doesn't find the date. So you know, if we go all the way down here, it could exit that for loop and not find a date, but for purposes of this exercise, we've done it. You know, we have caught the date. Not going to worry about the error checking now to say if there's not a date at all found for that date, which we would do. Come on to that later, I'm sure. But yeah, so theoretically now this XL value could then be passed through to the Twitter bot and said, you know, here's the tweet that we want to send out, and that's loaded from the Excel spreadsheet. So yep, there we go. Still more to do. Okay, so I've already sort of skipped ahead yesterday and did the next sort of side of this, which is looking at, well, what if there are multiple tweets for the same day, which is possible. I don't want to pick just the first one on the list. I want to be able to go back to the list and say, well, is there another one? Is there another one? And sort of keep checking forever, really. You know, if we've got a million tweets for one day, we'll just keep sending out a million tweets. Probably not a good idea. But, you know, you could do that. So that's the next video coming up. And now I've thought about it, I'm going to have to make sure there's something in there that won't allow, you know, no tweet to go. At least we'll break the program and stop any errors and just double check what happens if that date doesn't exist and what happens. And that's it. So yeah, thanks very much. I hope you find it, you know, helpful. Like I say, I learned this in less than an hour. I was just Googling around, taking snippets of what other people have done. This is all my own work. It's just snippets of other people, as far as understanding the concept of different commands. Like I say, I am a programmer. I just know what to Google. I know what for next loops are. You know, I used to do Visual Basic applications. I understand certain like logic functions. It's just understanding the syntax that I struggle with. But yeah, I was really pleased with that. So edging closer towards a Twitter bot that will be really, really usable, useful, and hopefully used, with the work that I do. So thanks very much, and like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff, and see you again. Bye.